You're listening to Civic Media. You can tune into any of our live shows on any radio station across the state with the Civic Media app. Find us in your phone's app store and listen anytime, anywhere.
Good morning. Welcome to Matt Nair on Air. Jane Matt Nair, Greg Bach, Calvin Butonoff, coming to you live from our studio here at beautiful Radio Park in Racine. You can always join us, call or text. The number is the same. It's 855-752-4842. You can leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. Got a busy show coming up for you today. Friday is the 4th of July.
It is?
It is the 4th of July. So we will be off. All three of us will be off. We have a specially curated show all put together for you. We have some of our favorite prior segments. Mm-hmm. If you're looking for some company on Friday the 4th of July. But Dan Schaefer normally joins us on Fridays. He will be here today instead, so we can do some recombobulating, not that there's anything going on.
Well, also, too, on Friday, if you are listening, there will be Free Ticket Friday.
That's right.
And it will be fresh and new, and you can participate, and that will be in there on the show. We will be announcing that word.
Yep.
And you want to make sure you get that Civic Media app, open it up, text the show, text that word, because on Free Ticket Friday, the 4th of July, it's all good.
Yeah.
We're giving away tickets for the July 11th game against the Washington Nationals. The Senators are like a team from like the 20s. They're taking on the Washington Senators.
Hey, they're going to play baseball. It's a 4-pack of tickets of club-level seats, by the way. They're really good seats.
Yes.
So, yes, Free Ticket Friday, even though we're doing a specially curated show for you on Friday, we will continue with Free Ticket Fridays.
Yes.
So, anyway, Dan Schaefer's going to be here after the 9:30 news so we can recombobulate. It is the first Wednesday of July.
Oh, yes, it is.
So, Darren Von Ruten will be here in hour number 2.
I love when he's here.
I do, too. And he is a farmer in Wisconsin. We're going to talk tariffs. We're going to talk the state budget. We'll talk the federal budget, SNAP cuts, all those things. Darren Van Ruden here after 10 o'clock. And then we didn't get around to it yesterday for our audio sorbet after 10:30. We had planned something, and then the budget was breaking in Wisconsin, and Senator Calderoy's called in, so we kind of had to bail on that. Today we will go back to the worst ice cream.
Yes.
Because we didn't get to finish it yesterday. So start thinking about it now. What is your worst ice cream?
And we will read the responses we did get yesterday. Some people did text us in. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Those will be read on the show today.
That's coming up after 10:30, and then we'll wrap up the show as we always do with This Shouldn't Be a Thing. Today it is the Snake on a Plane edition.
Oh, I wonder whatever this could be.
Oh, it's got a lot like it sounds. So, yeah, stick around for that. That's at the very end of the show, around 10:51. Wanted to start off with some breaking news from this morning. The Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel's Molly Beck reporting Wisconsin Supreme Court invalidates the state's strict 1849 abortion ban. Women in Wisconsin will continue to have access to abortion services under a new ruling from the High Court, which invalidates a 176-year-old state law which had banned abortions in practically every situation. The ruling was 4-3. The liberal-controlled Wisconsin Supreme Court affirming the lower court decision that had overturned this law from the 1800s.
Yeah. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, one of the big problems was it didn't define anything in that, because back in those days, they weren't going for nuance in the description within the law. It was just, it's banned.
And the amount of what they knew about just women's health in 1849 was considerably different than it is now.
I would not say that much compared to our leadership around the country. I feel like they really go on an 1849 basis of their thoughts on women's health and bodily autonomy and things of that nature.
Well, it's back the good old days.
Yeah,
the 1850s were
back
great.
when you ladies were property
and knew their place. Yeah. Supreme Court Justice Rebecca Dallett said the Wisconsin State Legislature had effectively repealed that 1849 law when it enacted additional laws regulating abortion access. So again, this is where we are right now. This is good news. This is good news for women's health because abortion is health care.
And also this is, this is good for everyone. As we've spoken to Dr. Hanks and Dr. Lyerly, access to abortion care access to healthcare is something which affects everyone. It affects the women who are giving birth. It affects the men who are involved. It affects everyone, because when they try to take away certain rights, it starts with one group, and then it can go with another group, and then so on and so forth. And before you know it, you're being told what is and what isn't healthcare, and not your doctor, but legislators and
some lawmakers.
So this is good for everyone.
Absolutely. It absolutely is. Again, if you are just joining us, Wisconsin Supreme Court has invalidated the state's strict 1849 abortion ban, so women in Wisconsin can once again access abortion services under this new ruling. And I also think, and we've talked to Dr. Hanks about, to Dr. Lyerly about this, if we want more doctors to move here, they have to be able to practice medicine.
Yep. Yeah.
This is happening in other states. They are losing OBGYNs.
Yes, they are. They absolutely
because
are.
of laws like this. So this is good.
Yeah. This is one of the things, from a economic standpoint, we can look at it and say, I know that Robin Vos has talked a lot about both attracting and retaining people in the state. And I'll just give you a very personal example. My sister has told me many times she was born and raised here. She loves Wisconsin. She doesn't want to move here because of the way they treat women.
Because of the politics?
Yeah, the way they treat women, the way the laws harm women. And I'm not saying that I'm going to go back to her now and say, look, come on in. But this is a step in the right direction, in my opinion.
We want young families to move here.
Yes.
It's tough to tell them, come, move to Wisconsin. Increase the size of your family. Have more children, except if you have problems with your pregnancy, then you probably don't want to be here.
No, exactly.
Yeah, that's not good.
No, not at all. Now we just have to get them to work on the stoppage of closures of hospitals, and maybe open a few and help people in the rural area, because they vote too.
They do. Yeah. Ben from Richland Center texting in, listening on WRCE, just asks, for people who oppose abortion, I want to ask, if you stop a woman who's 1,000 miles away from having an abortion, how does that make your life happier or better? They feel that I really do believe that for people who are very adamant on one side of this issue, they believe they are saving a life.
Yes.
They do.
And they also generally, I don't want to make assumptions, but it's pretty much a given that it is also tied to a divine sort of mission. So for them, they see it being an intervention of a divinity, like they're doing the good work of God. Now, I'm not going to get into that aspect. I can't tell you what God thinks because we don't talk that much.
No,
but
never.
That's the thing.
Calls.
It doesn't come down to a. I don't want to say a logic. I don't want to insult anybody, but if somebody doesn't get an abortion who's 1,000 miles away because of a law or whatever, they feel like they're part of a victory, and that makes them feel good. And I don't like that it makes them feel good because I feel like other people are suffering because of it. But I think the question is, how does that make them feel good? It's not as simple. It's not just like they're not evil. They're not being. They don't think they're evil.
No,
and I get that.
Of course not.
We just thoroughly disagree.
Yes, but again, as of today, this is where we are right now. So that 1849 abortion ban in Wisconsin is gone.
Yep,
and women can once again access health care. This still falls under, from what I understand, because this just broke as we were coming on the air, there are still plenty of restrictions. It's not like you can go in. I believe there's still a waiting period. I believe you still have to get ultrasounds and all of those things. So it's not like all barriers have been removed.
Yeah.
But again, at least now our doctors and women who are seeking health care, because it is health care, don't have to worry about, going to prison.
And I don't want to be the person who, excuse me, I don't want to be the person who snuffs the light out in this story, because it is a good story. It's good news. We still have a legislature that probably could put this on a ballot and make people vote for. I mean, this is far from being solved.
A done thing. Well, it's interesting looking at some of the comments on social media. Some who are on the opposite side of the issue are like, yeah, well, maybe now we can stop campaigning on this, because it's a losing issue for them.
I mean, the best example of all of this is when they tried to pass a total abortion ban in Kansas, not not California, not New York, not
Massachusetts,
not hippy dippy West Coast, or the liberal elite educated East Coast, Kansas, and it failed because people realized that abortion is healthcare, abortion access is healthcare, and having access to that healthcare is important, even if it's not something you would do yourself. Just makes sense, and we're seeing examples out of various states.
Oh yeah,
a lot that. Now we are just literally turning women into incubators. And that didn't stand for Kansas.
Yeah, well, because they put it on a referendum.
Yes.
And Kansas massively voted against, permanently banning abortion. So now they just want to stop constituents from being able to put anything on a referendum.
Yeah.
That's how to get around that.
They changed the rules when they lose.
Exactly. We don't like what they did, and they were sickness, so let's just make it can never do that again.
Yep. Yeah. Sounds like democracy to me.
Doesn't it, though? Change the rules in the middle of the game.
Yeah.
In other news, what a shock. Gee, let me sit down. After weeks of opposition, Ron Johnson falls in line with a yes vote on Trump's budget bill. Say it's not so.
Does Ronald Johnson not stand for the people of Wisconsin anymore?
But Ron he's there to protect our children and our grandchildren and our grandchildren's children's future. By not increasing the deficit and not increasing the debt, Greg. And now it's like, that's never mind.
Because he remembered, wait a minute. Because he didn't talk about other people. He talked about his children and his grandchildren. Then he realized one day he woke up in a cold sweat going, oh, wait a minute. My kids, my grandkids, my great-grandkids, and so on, they're going to be fine. I'm very rich, and I'm a senator. It's a yes vote for me. Go ahead.
I'm good. Go ahead and vote.
Let's tax them poors and cut Medicaid. All right.
Yeah. So members of the House now, after the Senate passed the budget bill yesterday.
Yep.
Now members of the House are scrambling to get back to Washington, D.C. I've seen a number of them because there's bad weather apparently along the eastern seaboard. So a whole bunch of flights have been canceled. So we have a bunch of House members now who are doing road trips trying to get back to Washington in time so they can cast their votes on this.
I'm never watching that movie. A congressional road trip where everyone comes together.
Congressional road trip.
And learns.
Oh, wow. That would be something.
Did you see the videos and the clips of Senator Fetterman just whining about, like, I want to get this done because it's vacation time?
He's missing his beach time.
Yeah.
He's missing his beach
Pennsylvania, you got sold a bill of goods.
I think his I think his health problems have gone deeper than people realized.
Yeah.
But yes, Rojo is not like, yep, we're good. He got promises. He got assurances that they're going to deal with his issues down the road.
2 weeks.
I think in 2 weeks.
They're going to deal with it in 2 weeks. I'm pretty sure
it's in 2 weeks.
2 weeks will take care of the whole thing.
When we return, we're going to have a little update for you on this $40 million Garden of Heroes. Garden of Heroes.
Never heard of it? You're about to.
This is what we're paying for in this budget. We're fiscally responsible.
Yeah.
You're listening to Matt Nair on Air on the Civic Media Radio Network. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Civic Media. Stay up to date on the latest news and information for your local community and Wisconsin by signing up for our free email newsletter. Visit civicmedia.us/email to get started.
Good morning. Welcome back to Matt Nair on Air. Jane Matt Nair, Greg Bach, Dr. Slide on the board. Coming to you from our studio at Radio Park in Racine, where you can join us. Call or text at 855-752-4842. Leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter.
So if you're listening to this as a podcast, you wouldn't have heard the intro music, but I'll tell you, the name of it was Metallica, Hero of the Day, with the San Francisco Symphony Orchestra. Because I'm a nerd and knew that off the top of my head.
You did. You knew it instantaneously,
Yep,
Calvin.
Instantaneously.
That was a big hit for Mr. Bach over here.
Love Metallica.
Yes, you can always join us at 855-752-4842. I want to give a shout out to our friend and colleague Terry Barr here at Civic Media. We call her the genie of just about everything.
Yeah.
She really is. She's involved with our music show on weekends, Max Inc., which has won all kinds of awards in Madison and around the state. And Terry also does a great job in our news department. And so if you miss things from our show, sometimes she'll grab a story that we did. Like earlier this week, we talked to Matt from We Got This Garden.
Yes.
And she took a little... Alex from We Got This Garden. And it's a program in Milwaukee that helps inner city kids get involved with gardening, and they get paid for it. And it's a really great program. But she grabbed that, and then she turns it into a news story and puts it on our website. Yes. Terry does great. The woman's won Emmys.
Yeah, that's another one of those individuals here at the company. We're like, hey, when do you sleep?
Seriously, she is involved in so much stuff, and just about like everybody here at Civic Media. But I want to give a special shout out to Terry because she does such a great job for us. And check that out. Go to civicmedia.us and click on news.
Yep. You'll find all sorts of great news stories from all of our correspondents all over the state. Local news, statewide news. Brittany Merlot's another one, multi-award winner, writes wonderful stories about the environment and the weather and like big weather topics, like whether it's natural disasters or heat waves or bugs or whatever.
You name it.
Yeah, we've got a great dedicated staff that you may hear on the radio once in a while, but they are behind the scenes making things work.
Working their butts off.
Oh, yeah.
So shout out to everybody and shout out to Terry. Thank you so much for that. Hey, we mentioned this yesterday very briefly because some of the things that got snuck into this budget bill that no one seems to be aware of.
Yeah.
And how did it get there? We don't know. It was just airdropped in there. Someone put it in the budget. Nobody's claiming it.
Well, when we went to bed, then the magical elves came out and started writing proposals.
And put things in this budget.
And then all of our shoes were fixed, too. And then we woke up and they were gone.
And we had new heels. It was amazing. So we mentioned this Garden of Heroes.
Yeah.
Garden of Heroes. $40 million of taxpayer money we're going to shell out for a sculpture garden. Representative Joe Neguse was questioning one of the Trump administration's officials about this yesterday. Calvin, I believe we have that clip. Can you play that, please?
What about the Garden of Heroes? $40 million for President Trump's Garden of Heroes. Can't we, why not just say, you know what? We've got a huge deficit.
Yeah.
And that's probably not the most prudent way to spend our taxpayer dollars. Let's just reallocate that $40 million. That's a bridge too far for you?
Well, I think there's not a bill that I've read and reviewed since I've been a member of Congress, certainly since I've been the budget chair, that I felt lived up perfectly to what I thought we ought to do in stewardship of tax dollars. And what I thought was consistent with the constitutional scope and
I hear you.
of this,
I hear you, Chair
of this
but I
federal
think
government.
you could understand our struggle because, as I said, last 7 weeks, you've testified a few times here. Every time you testify, this bill gets more expensive. Yeah. And the answer is always, well, down the road, of course, we could address this, and there are ways in which we can try to identify potential places where funding, where potential cuts can be identified, and so on and so forth. Here is an example right in front of you. $40 million. You could take care of that today. There's an amendment, I believe, that was submitted. You could rule that in order and say, you know what, we're going to put that $40 million towards deficit reduction.
Something.
If you're serious about wanting to address the fiscal health of the country.
Yeah. $40 million. We could use that someplace else.
And he was speaking to Congressman Jody Arrington from Texas, who is the chair of the Budget Committee. Yeah, and I love that. Like this seems like a no-brainer to me. $40 million for 250 statues, and it's going in the White House, right?
No, I believe it's going to go somewhere in South Dakota.
Oh.
Politico says the plan is to unveil 250 life-sized statues in time for America's 250th birthday next year on the 4th of July.
How are they going to get all those made?
Well, that's kind of a problem because apparently we don't have enough sculptors in this country to get this done. Again, gaming out the idea.
Yeah.
Here's the thought. What will happen if we do this? How will we make this happen? Where's it going to go? Who's going to sculpt them? How are we going to get them made? How's this going to happen? Yeah, no, it's just like, we want $40 million for a statue garden. It'll be great.
You had 249 years to plan this. You could have done it a long time ago. But
they could have been making them up to this point.
Also, what do you want to bet they're going to farm some of these statues out to other countries?
China?
Maybe China. We'll find out more in 2 weeks what the plan is because, but it goes back to that notion of, Do you think we can get rid of it? Do you think it's a problem that we have deficit spending and you want to spend $40 million on a Garden of Heroes? I'm going to say that again, Gardens of Heroes, which sounds like something you wrote of a Thor movie. Can't say yes or no to it. Can't say, yeah, it's great. I love it. Let's do it. Let's make 2 of them. Can't say no. Can't say, yeah, you're right. This is a ridiculous waste of money.
I don't know why you can't say no.
You can, but they can't.
The plan calls for a suitable space to be identified, which is yet to happen, although South Dakota has offered a spot near Mount Rushmore.
Gross.
Because that's what he wants.
We only need enough time to make 1 statue, everybody.
We got news coming up next, and then some recombobulating on the other side with Dan Schaefer. Stay with us. You're listening to Matt Nair on Air on the Civic Media Radio Network. Good morning. Welcome to Matt Nair on Air. Jane Matt Nair, Greg Bach, Sweet Calby on the board, coming to you from our studio at Radio Park in Racine. You can always join us. Call or text at 855-752-4842. Leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. Coming up later on today, 2 to 4, the Todd Alba Show. He will be joined by Pat Kreitlow, host of Mornings with Pat Kreitlow. Also, Trygve Olsen, senior advisor at the Lincoln Project, talking about not just the state budget, but the federal budget. In second hour with Todd, what's worse? Summer Street Edition. Summer Street Event Edition.
Summer Street Event Edition.
Yes.
I was like...
It's coming. Summer Street. It could be a lot of things. Todd today from 2 to 4 p.m. Delighted to be joined by Civic Media's political editor and the creator of the multi-award-winning Recombobulation Area, Dan Schaefer, is here. I bet you've been busy the last couple of days.
You know, as someone who lives at the intersection of state and national politics and NBA basketball,
Yep.
it's been a very newsworthy couple days
No
here, Jane.
doubt.
I'm a little discombobulated, I must say.
Well, we're gonna talk about your new best friend a little bit later on. We'll save that. We'll leave that little tease out there. Dan Schaefer is a new fan.
Yeah, I know.
He's got some pull.
Something like that.
Something like that. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's talk, though, about budgets. We can start with the Wisconsin state budget. We did talk to Senator Kelda Roys yesterday, who called in towards the end of our show, and not all the Democrats are happy with these compromises that have been made.
Yeah, I think there is, some division within the Democratic Party in Wisconsin among assembly representatives and and state senators who are not sure what to make of this budget deal. The budget deal announced 5 a.m. yesterday by Tony Evers and legislative Republicans, also included Senate Democrats. And I think that, to me, is really standing out as one of the most interesting pieces of this, the fact that Dianne Hesselbein, Senate Democratic Minority Leader, was invited to the table, because I don't know what kind of budget would have been signed if they did not step to the table late last week when there was kind of this impasse, and the Republicans realized that they were not going to be able to pass a budget with only Republican votes. So I think that really gave Senate Democrats some certain level of leverage. They were able to notch some certain wins. But you're right, there is some disagreement among Democrats about this bill. I got a press release this morning from a coalition of groups led by Citizen Action of Wisconsin, Wisconsin Education Association Council, Wisconsin Public Education Network, and WeCan, Corinne Hendrickson from WeCan, who I know has been on the show a number of times, all encouraging state senators and representatives to vote against the budget and encouraging Tony Evers to veto the budget. So there is clearly, I think the public education piece is one that has people most fired up against this budget, but there are a number of issues that people are looking for, hoping for more wins in this budget. A rare moment that Democrats had some measure of leverage, and they got some things, but did they get enough? I think that's the big question right now.
Well, and that's the big so at the risk, I'll say it out loud, at the risk of looking completely stupid, when the news came out yesterday, it was announced by Governor Evers and the Republicans. We got a press release from the Main Street Alliance that praised the compromise, and it seemed like, oh, well, because when we talked about it yesterday on the show, we were like, does this feel like a win? I feel like this is a win. This feels like good stuff. And then Chris Larson comes out while we're on the air yesterday and says he's going to vote no. I saw something from Francesca Hong, who's an assembly member from Madison. Kelda Roys, if you listen back, I didn't expect to hear, like, she was not thrilled with it. And so it sort of took me for a loop to say, like, oh, is this bad? I feel like what the Republicans were proposing versus what was agreed upon yesterday is far and away not what I expected. Like, I was like, this seems like a trick to me. Like, this seems too good.
Because again, if they hadn't come to a deal, we would have reverted to the previous budget. Mm-hmm. Right?
Right. We would have gone to the previous budget, and that introduces a number of questions, as the state is kind of planning things out, particularly for schools wanting to know what level of funding they're going to be able to plan for this fall. There are a number of temporary workers across Wisconsin that wouldn't have funding for it. So it's like, it makes sense to pass a budget. Part of this process that has really frustrated me is how much of it has happened behind closed doors. Mm-hmm. And I get that they need to, need to negotiate, but so much of this has happened behind closed doors. And then, like, basically 48 hours after we see the deal, less than 48 hours after we see the deal announced from Governor Evers, we're going to have people voting on it. That just I don't think that gives enough time for public to react to a really complicated, detailed piece of legislation. It's a, $111 billion or 100, whatever the numbers on the budget are. It's a huge budget, and I think you need to have a little bit more time for people to process it and see if there needs to be some final improvements and all of that. But to get back to the point that you were making, Greg, I think the wins that they were able to have in this budget for childcare, for the UW system, for a number of other capital projects, I think is pretty significant. And I think, again, what I've been hearing as I've been talking to people about this negotiation is that Dianne Hesselbein, the state Senate Democratic Minority Leader, really did a terrific job in the negotiations once she was finally brought to the table.
And that's the big worry I have, is like, I don't have a problem with any of these reps having a problem with it. And I have no problem with them saying we want more, because I think that if Tony Evers had his druthers, he would have way more in his budget. But it's a two-part question. One, do you really think Tony Evers is going to veto this thing? And two,
no.
Is the budget at risk of losing things if the Democrats come up and start making noise and saying, well, we want more, and the Republicans just say, well, to heck with you, we're going to take out this stuff. We're going back to the drawing board, and too bad, so sad. We thought we had a deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, I think there is some different dynamics from the Assembly versus the Senate. In the Assembly, Republicans can pass a budget with only Republican votes. So Assembly Democrats can make a lot of noise talking about what was missed in this budget, mm-hmm. but they are not going to be, they're kind of out of the process for this to a certain extent.
Right.
Because Robin Vos and Assembly Republicans have the votes to pass this with only Republican votes. I do wonder if there's more they could have gotten if Hesselbein was at the table for this earlier. Because as we've been talking about this for weeks, that Steve Nass and Chris Kapenga, if we have the pronunciations on that correct, have been no votes. And so it's been the case for weeks that Senate Democrats were needed to come to the table. And as I reported last week on Civic Media, she was brought into negotiations, I believe, on Thursday. And then things happened quickly once she was brought to negotiations. And so I think she's going to be in favor of it. And there are a number of kind of more swing seat Democrats who are going to be in favor of this too. Mm-hmm. So some of the people who have expressed support include Jody Haber-Sinekin, Kristen Alfheim, and Sarah Kieski. Well, those are three state senators who won tough races on new maps last fall. So I think it is significant that, some of those who are in closer, more competitive districts are saying, like, let's take the win here, and we can celebrate that.
If you're just joining us, we have Dan Schaefer here. He is the political editor of Civic Media, as well as the founder and creator of the multi-award-winning Recombobulation Era. And he's recombobulating with us early this week because we're not going to be here on Friday. And Dan, the thing I have to say is, at the risk of looking, well, you know what? I don't really care about parties right now. I care about Wisconsin and democracy and the good stuff for good people. This is kind of what we always talk about, though, right? We talk about Republicans and Democrats coming together in a room, having a conversation, hashing out the problems, finding solutions, and not everyone's going to get everything they want. And the fact that they wanted to last week or a week and a half ago cut $87 million from the UW system.
Yes.
And now I think how much is in that between capital improvement and just funding the UW system?
Hundreds of millions.
Hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
This is compromise is not a bad word. It's a good thing. Right. And I'm not trying to invalidate the feelings of the senators and the assembly members who have a problem with this. But if we can make this one work here, what about in 2 years, the conversations we can have in 2 years? And, it's not perfect. Agreed. But this is better than we were looking at a week ago.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right about that. And I think some of the things that people are upset with is there not being new funding for public education. And I think there are some groups that are just going to be dug in on that and say that we need to increase for public education. And I don't know what the status of this budget would be had things not changed last week with the Senate Democrats.
Right.
And I think that to me, and you go back to all the conversations that we've had about fair maps, all the conversations that we had last fall about these tough districts in the state Senate. Well, we had fair maps for the first time. Half of the state Senate was up. Democrats won all 5 of the 5 most closely competitive seats in that. And it is because of that, because the people of Wisconsin in those districts spoke with their votes and made a difference. That is the reason that this is different, because otherwise we're just looking at the same dynamic between Evers and Voss disagreeing that we've seen for the past 3 budget cycles. The only different thing here is the fact that state Senate they needed some votes from state Senate Democrats, and state Senate Democrats were invited to the table and made a real difference for Wisconsinites in this budget.
Don't ever let anybody tell you your vote doesn't count.
Correct.
Absolutely.
This is the perfect example of it.
And I would argue the point that this was where it wasn't just the last 3 budget cycles, but the current one, because up until last week, it was the same old Voss and Evers don't like each other. And I'm not trying. No, I don't care. They both sides were gone. There was nothing happening. We had the threat of
They're
going
gonna
back
walk
to
away.
Yeah. And
Right.
I'm throwing all my love and support to Diane Hesselbein for walking in the room and probably slamming a piece of paper down and saying, we're going to fix this right now because we look like fools. And it got done. And that is the power of just having those discussions, having the conversation. And that helps us. And you're right, Dan, there are funding measures that were not met, and there are things that were not put into the budget that need to. I'm a big believer in more money for public education, but
Still not expanding Medicaid here in this
Right.
budget yet
Right.
again.
Which is
there are some misses for sure.
insanity to me, but
Yep.
we will probably keep talking about that forever. But it just irks me a little bit that we're not counting this as a win. And I know there's listeners probably saying you're wrong, Greg, and that's fine. That's
Why aren't we
absolutely fine.
fighting harder?
Why
Why
are
aren't
we
we fighting harder?
We're fighting harder after the agreement's been made. And unfortunately, assembly members weren't brought to the table. But Diane Hesselbein was, and she got in there and she got things done. And that is fantastic. I count this as a good start.
It's a start.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And we don't have a lot of time before we go to the breakdown, but I just want to say, isn't it by design that we push these budgets through so quickly so that no one actually knows everything that's in there? We were talking about the federal budget before you joined us, and this $40 million for this statue of heroes, this garden of heroes. That's the stuff they don't want the public to know about. So let's just vote on it and get it done. Let's just get it done.
Always hate that part of the process. Get the public involved. Have these negotiations in public. You don't need to be behind closed doors all the time for this.
If you're
It drives me nuts.
if you're so embarrassed you don't want to talk about it in public, that should be a sign. We're going to continue our conversation with Dan Schaefer. He is a new best friend. All the details on the other side. Stay with us. You're listening to Matt Nair on Air on the vast, statewide, countrywide. Pick us up globally on the app, Civic Media Radio Network.
You're listening to Civic Media. Find the latest news, information, and archives of all your favorite shows on the Civic Media website, civicmedia.us.
Good morning. Welcome back to Matt Nair on Air. Jane Matt Nair, Greg Bach, Sweet Calby on the board. Coming to you from our studio at Radio Park in Racine. Join us. Call or text at 855-752-4842. You can also leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. We are going on a road trip, baby.
Can't wait.
Nat Nair on Air and the Todd Albaugh Show hitting the road this summer. Join us on our summer road trip. We're going to stop in Oshkosh, in Butternut, and Hayward. Everywhere to talk about the EAA Air Venture. There's Packers training camp going on. There's Lumberjacks in Hayward. You're going to get recruited. You know that.
Oh, and you're going to find out just how quickly I would die in the woods immediately.
Join us as we are on the road. Matt Nair on Air and Todd Albaugh Show, July 16th, 17th, and 18th. If you're going to be around the area, I hope you will stop out and say hello. We are hitting the road summer 2025. Yeah. Right now, we're joined by Civic Media's political editor and the creator of the Recombobulation Area, Dan Schaefer, is here talking about the state budget before we went to the break. Where do we go from here? Is it a done? I mean, are we still, it's done, isn't it? Or they're still voting.
They're still voting today. I believe there are floor sessions for the Assembly and the Senate today to vote on the state budget. But I'm expecting it to pass. I mean, especially after, Governor Evers got behind it, legislative Republicans got behind it, and enough Democratic state senators are behind it. I'm expecting this budget to pass pretty comfortably.
And is this his statement on a third term?
He said he would let us know after the budget is done.
And this is a pretty gutsy budget. Like, if the way it was going, I was like, oh, I don't know. And now, I mean, this is not the work of him specifically, but Senate Democrats. So, but is this a declaration, do you think, Dan? Dan Schaefer, do you think?
That's a good question. I obviously, where I stand when it comes to Evers running for a third term. I wrote a very extended piece on why I think he should not run for a third term. Go check that one out at the Recombobulation Area. Drop the paywall on it if you wanted to read the whole thing. But I do think I'm expecting him to announce for a third term. Yeah. I do think it's probably going to happen. I think he has, 10 days to review the budget for line item vetoes. Part of the budget agreement that he would not touch any of the areas that they agreed upon. Yeah. With those line item vetoes, Republicans are pretty spooked after what he pulled 2 years ago.
They're very stung.
For sure. And so, he's going to have I'm sure there will be something, though, that he will partial veto. Maybe that was outside of the agreement, whatever it might be. So I expect that to come over the next few days and for, the announcement probably to come shortly thereafter. I saw Jesse Apoyan from the Journal Sentinel mention the other day that in 2015, 10 years ago now, Scott Walker signed his budget. I think it was also kind of a similar timeline, a little bit late into July. But then he, right at the day after signing the budget, he announced he would be running for president. So I wonder if that is a little bit of, past his prologue here.
That's interesting, though.
The timing.
Because when I think of Scott Walker and the 4th of July, I think of Scott Walker and the Republicans' efforts to gut the open records law while everybody was going off on vacation. Just kind of assuming that no one was going to notice this and we could just pass this on the holiday weekend. Yeah, that didn't happen. Nice try, though.
Yeah, but what's great? He lost in the primary and then he got booted out of office. So,
pretty quick, too.
Double whammy win for Wisconsin.
Pretty quick. All right, we got about 2.5 minutes left. You have been retweeted by someone in very, very particular.
Yeah, I got retweeted by Giannis Antetokounmpo yesterday.
Yeah!
How about that?
That's amazing.
I'm Giannis adjacent.
How did this all happen?
So on Monday night, there was the free agency started for the NBA, and Brook Lopez, one of my favorite all-time Milwaukee Bucks, was signed by the Los Angeles Clippers. Not a big surprise that he was going to be moving on after his contract ended. Signed a 2-year deal with the Clippers. Congrats to Brook. But I was just posting some memories of Brook Lopez, and I said that Brook Lopez should have his jersey retired in Milwaukee when it's all said and done. And Giannis quote tweeted it and said 1,000,000%. So We're all on board. We're getting Brooke Lopez's number 11 hanging from the rafters in Fiserv Forum. If Giannis and I have anything to say about
it. When you saw that come through, when you saw the notification, did you drop? I've had moments where people I really respect and love have either responded, retweeted, or in ultimate things followed Missy Elliott, followed me, and I will throw my phone across the room and be like, well, I can't say anything anymore because now they're sort of in my life, and I'll look, everything else just would be dumb.
You've reached like the pinnacle of Twitter, Dan, now.
Yeah.
I mean, the greatest basketball player of all time
nowhere to
retweeted
go.
me. You know, I was thinking, how many people are in this club who have been retweeted by Giannis Antetokounmpo and Julie Louis-Dreyfus? Is it just me? Is this the exclusive club here?
I think in research of this question, we found it's a very specific parameter you've set for yourself.
I think there's room for a poster behind you that says just that. Retweeted by Giannis and Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
I'll frame it right over here.
There you go.
President, vice president, and treasurer of the Julie Louis-Dreyfus Giannis Retweet Club.
Congratulations. Yeah. That's very exciting.
Thank you. And a big day for the Milwaukee Bucks.
I was just going to ask.
Making a whole lot of moves. Yeah. My goodness.
You might catch me watching a game or two next season. I'm interested to see what they're doing. Is this new kid from Serbia, this 19-year-old, and some good
the big
trades.
Signing yesterday was Miles Turner, signing him away from the emerging rival Indiana Pacers. So now the Bucks have a great replacement for Brooke Lopez. It's going to be a fun season.
Dan Schaefer, our political editor and creator of the Recombobulation Area. Make sure you subscribe. It is fantastic. Thank you so much, my friend. We will see you next week.
Thanks for having me.
Stay
Be well.
with us.
Happy 4th.
Happy 4th. News coming up next. Keep it here on the Civic Media Radio Network.
The national news cycle never stops, but it can be hard to find news about your local community. Civic Media is dedicated to providing quality local and state news coverage across Wisconsin. With the Civic Media app, you can get notifications about local stories that matter to you and your community. Find the free Civic Media app in your phone's app store and choose notifications from the menu to tell us what kind of news you want to hear about.